up, everybody? Thank you for stopping in. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about my 6.0 swap and what you need to do. I did a video, actually a couple videos, but it's been about 2 years ago. I think I'm going to revisit it. And I feel like there's a couple things I left out of those videos. So we'll get out, I'll show you the engine and tell you what you need to do to swap a 6-liter. So if you look in there, it really doesn't look any different except for my intake. My intake is a TBSS intake. That's a different story. But the reason why it doesn't look any different is because the 6 liters and the 5.3s are identical on the outside. All you need to do when swapping a 6-liter is basically just act like you're just swapping out the 5.3 for a new one. Just blocking heads. Use all the 5.3 wiring, intake manifold and everything. Use the sensors off that one because the computer reads it all the same. It's no different than boring your 5.3 over to just a bigger displacement. People think that just because it's a 6-liter it runs differently or something. They don't. Your exhaust hooks up, all the accessories hook up, everything fits. Another question that gets asked often is, will I need a tune? Is absolutely, because now you have a lot more cubic inches than the computer thought you did.
Sorry.
Before you did the swap, so it would be very lean, which is not good. It will run, so you can drive it to a tune shop. I would not advise getting on it hard at all. I know it's tempting because you just swapped a 6-liter in, but be easy on it. Just put it down there and then let him do his thing. I've also been a lot of questions about guys with the NBS trucks, so the 07 and up trucks. Somewhere in, I believe, 07, GM switched to a 58 reluctor wheel, tooth reluctor wheel. These ones are 24, so that's something to consider when you're doing the swap, is just make sure that the engine has the same reluctor wheel. If it's a Gen 3 versus a Gen 4, you can buy the conversion boxes that will fool the signal to the computer if you want. I would rather just keep it simple and buy the same generation. And also, when going from a Gen 3 to a Gen 4, the knock sensors are in a different location. On a Gen 3, they're under the intake manifold. On a Gen 4, they're on the side of the block, which all can be, changed over to. It's not a big deal, but if you're looking to just swap the engine over, do what I did, and just put the Gen 3 6-liter in place of the Gen 3 5.3. You really don't need anything off the 6-liter other than the block and the heads. Like I said, the harness is the same, so there's no point in swapping it out. Just disconnect everything, and when you have them both out, take your sensors off your 5.3, put them on the 6-liter, and just put it back in. So a little bit on this engine though. While I had it out, I went ahead and put K-Tech CNC ported heads. I had them milled 30 thousandths. It's a TBSS intake manifold. I believe it's like 08 or something, Trailblazer SS around there. They came with an LS2, but with this intake manifold, it fits. There's a couple things you got to change, but you go from a 78 millimeter throttle body and opening on the intake to a 90 millimeter, or you can have it port matched to 92 or 102. The guy that ported this intake manifold, his name is 454 Chuy. I'll put a link to his Instagram in the description. He's really good. He ports heads, intakes, throttle bodies. If you're looking for a good bang for your buck, check him out for sure. But back to the intake swap, it's not a very hard swap, but again, you will need a tune. I've had people telling me they did the swap and now it won't run right. Well, you changed a big aspect of what the computer thought the truck came with originally. So you need to have it tuned so it could be adjusted, because you're getting a lot more airflow now. And there's a couple things that are in different spots, but for the most part it works. I'm using 8.1 liter injectors, which are maxed out with this 6-liter. 5.3 injectors on a stock 6-liter will probably be okay. Any modifications after that, you'll probably need bigger injectors. If you do, like I did, heads, bigger cam, headers, all that, and with a tune, I was maxed out. So I'm going to get bigger injectors, but I'm throwing around the idea of building a new engine for this. So subscribe if you're wanting to see that. So it's really short and simple because people overcomplicate it. There's a lot of misinformation out there about the 6-liter swap. People think, I had a guy message me about flex fuel. The shop was saying that because his truck was a flex fuel, the 6-liter wouldn't work. And the point that they were making might have been true, saying like if you wanted to swap everything in and try and use that harness and everything, it wouldn't work. which is, I guess, maybe true, but they're overcomplicating it. You don't need to do any of that. Just swap out the block and the heads. And really don't even need to swap out the heads if you don't want to. I have heard of people putting 5.3 heads on 6 liters because it raises the compression up a very good amount, which will give you a lot more torque. So some things to consider after you've done your 6 liter swap, or if you're thinking about doing your 6 liter swap. First and foremost, your transmission will definitely have a shorter lifespan. I have the factory 4L60, which people ask me a lot. It bolts right up to it, which leads me into something I almost forgot. All you need to do to mate it to the transmission is your 5.3 flex plate. The early 6 liters had a different length crank snout on the back, so that would require something different. Like I said, I would just try and stick with the 2001 and up 6 liters. If the easy way to tell if they have the different crank or not, if they have iron heads. Those were the only LS engines that came with iron heads, is the first 2 years of the 6 liter. If they have aluminum heads, you're good. But back to the transmission, just use the 5.3 flex plate. It bolts right up. It will definitely not last as long with your 5.3 though. You have a lot more horsepower and a lot more torque. Torque is a big thing. Horsepower isn't a lot more, but you have a lot more torque with the 6 liter. And being that it's a bigger engine, you might want to upgrade your radiator, which I did. I upgraded to the 34 inch and did the factory E-fan upgrade, which when you're getting your tune done for your 6 liter, have the guy turn the fans on in the computer. Even though these never came with electric fans, they have the capability of controlling the fans. And also, I mean, while you have the 6 liter out, is a good opportunity to replace all your gaskets. I did that because my 5.3 had 150-ish thousand miles. So I mean, it'd been put through the ringer. A lot of run time, and it leaked a little bit. So I replaced every single gasket on this thing, and it has not leaked one bit. It's a good opportunity to do that because you have it out. It's easy at that point. I would recommend rebuilding something if you want to do this like long term, I guess. I was an idiot. I just bought it and slapped it in and hoped for the best. It worked out for me, but I mean, if you can get a used engine and actually hear it run before you are able to take it, I mean, obviously you can tell if it runs good or not, if it has any bad sounds coming from it, which if that's the case, then yeah, go ahead and swap it in. I mean, ultimately it's up to you. You don't have to do any of it. I just pointed it out. Alright, so that's going to do it. Like I said, it's short and sweet. There's really not a lot to it. If you're interested in seeing what other things I've done to this, check out my other videos. It's got heads, cam, headers, tune, stall, a whole bunch of other stuff. More stuff coming, like I said, possibly an engine, built trans, and we got other projects going on too. So check out my Instagram. It's Endless Wishlist 6.0. My Porter 454 Chuy. Hit him up if you are looking for some cheap horsepower. That's gonna do it. Take care. See you guys next time.
This is